434-582-2909 is the phone number. Welcome back to Ninth Period, everybody. Andrew Claudio in studio, and joining me by phone. I am honored to have this guest on, and again, shout out to Tyler Lee. You've come through 2 weeks in a row, last week with the Chancellor, and now with this guy who has meant so much to me, just as my faith has grown, as my ministry through Ninth Period has grown. Mr. Clayton King joining us by phone. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm in Lynchburg, so it's good for me to be here.
Always good to be in Lynchburg. Now, you survived like the mini storm we've got as far as Drenchburg goes, correct?
Yeah, I was actually in an airplane flying through it whenever it came through. So I'd like to think that the Lord protected me. He had something for me to accomplish, and not my time to go yet.
Obviously, God is good. Got you here safe and sound.
Yeah.
Now, you're officially a campus pastor here at Liberty University, one of the greatest universities in the world. I kind of have to say that being a student, but, just kind of, go through how it feels to now be a campus pastor, not just someone who comes and speaks here, the official title of campus pastor.
Man, it's an honor. I'm humbled. I can't believe that I get to do this. From the very first time I ever preached here at Liberty, I knew that I wanted to be a part of this community. I've respected this place from a distance for many, many years. It was always a dream of mine to get to come and speak here. And so for the past 6 years, coming and speaking for Spiritual Emphasis Week and Convo and CFAW weekends was always the highlight of my year. And I've said this before on my blog and from the stage. It's my favorite place on earth to preach. I don't ever go anywhere where the people are more receptive than the students here at Liberty. So it feels good. As far as having the title, I'm not really big into titles. I'm thankful that I am an official campus pastor, but I think sometimes Christians can get wrapped up in their titles and forget their ministries. And so for me, it's more about getting to sow into the lives of the students and getting to know them and finding out what's going on in their heart and their life and becoming friends with them and trying to mentor and help and coach and pastor these guys and these students here on campus. So with or without the title, I love being able to do this, but I am thankful that I get to be on a great team with, Johnny Moore and Dayne Carraway and Todd Campo and all the other guys that are doing campus ministry here.
It definitely is an honor to have you, as one of our campus pastors. What would you say is your favorite part of being just coming to the school, coming here? Like, is it interacting with the students? Is it just preaching in general? Is it, interacting with the fellow campus pastors? What's your favorite part?
Well, you pretty much nailed it. It's three things. Number one, it's the personal interaction I get with the students. I'm an extreme extrovert. I love people. When I came to the opening game in the new football stadium, I brought my wife and my boys up with me, and just being in the stadium and getting to talk to students, that is the greatest thing I love about doing this. And then second of all is obviously preaching. It's my gift. It's what I'm called to do, and I'm energized whenever I get to stand up and preach the gospel and teach the word. But then I've become really great friends with a lot of the leaders on campus. I've become great friends with the Chancellor and good friends with Dayne Carraway and Johnny Moore and Chris Deitch and David McKinney and the guys on the worship team. So getting to reconnect with my friends and even some of the students here. So, several of the students, the guys, are friends of mine from our ministry. My intern from last year at our ministry at Crossroads down in North Carolina is currently a student here, and his name is Seth Opria.
Really?
So I always love getting to see him when I come back on campus because we spent a year together last year. A couple of our former staff go to school here. Some of our summer camp staff, and it's always good to connect with them. I love going in the rot. I love going in there and just walking from table to table and shaking hands and meeting people and hearing their stories and just seeing what God's doing. So it's a combination of all those three.
I think
there's absolutely nothing bad about what I get to do. I really can't believe that I get the honor to do this.
Right. I think you kind of need to. I might need to replay this for the rot's sake. That Clayton King likes to go to the rot. He loves going to the rot because that's definitely not the popular thing on campus.
Let me say something about that.
Go ahead.
Correct some people's bad theology on this. I grew up semi-poor. We never starved, but I grew up without a lot of variety in the food department. And maybe it's because I've traveled in 31 countries and I've had to, practically starve to death on the mission field in other nations. But, man, the food in there to me is great. And all the students say, well, if you had to eat it every day, you'd get sick of it. I don't know. I don't know if I would get sick of it or not. I'm not hard to please when it comes to food and groceries. I'll eat just about anything.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I grew up Italian, so, I mean, to an extent, I stay away from the pasta just because I hold a higher standard. But I'm in the same boat as you. I mean, you only go about 10 times a week, and if you mix it up enough, it's really not that bad of a thing, And plus, there's other places to eat on campus
agreed.
if you don't want to get sick of it. So, there. Shout out to the Reber Thomas Dining Hall. We love you over here at 90.9. Clayton King joining us on ninth period. When you interact with the students, is there a popular topic that comes up? Is there any specific thing that you most of the time that you talk about with them?
Yeah. I mean, there's a variety of things, but it's usually a handful of topics. Number one, the students are always very warm and friendly to thank me for the messages I've preached. Number two, a lot of them want to share with me either their own personal testimony of how they came to Christ or maybe a sense of calling on their life that they feel like God has put on them for ministry. And then, number three, people will ask me about my family and my travels and our ministry at Crossroads back in North Carolina. And then, inadvertently, always the issue of relationships come up, and we always get a good laugh because I have been, on the campus for 6 years, and I think the first couple of years I preached on relationships, a lot of people broke up, and the last 2 years I've not encouraged anybody to break up, but I think I've gotten this little nickname, Mr. Breakup or Dr. Breakup or King Breakup. I don't know. And so, but even with all the kidding aside, I'm always meeting students who either through one of the messages I taught or the conversations that came up from one of my sermons about relationships, I'm constantly meeting students that got together as a result of one of those talks, or even students now that I keep in touch with that got married, that got together as a result of one of those messages. Of course, I don't take the credit for it, but I always love talking about relationships. My wife and I right now are actually writing a book together for Harvest House on that topic.
That would be very enjoyable to read. I'll tell you that much. As far as also like books that you've written, they passed out Dying to Live, the book you wrote. It's all over campus. Everywhere I go, you see that on top of everyone's school books. I'm about halfway through. Just the whole concept of dying to live. I thank you so much for writing this book because it's true. You do need to die to Christ. You got to give yourself fully to Him in order to fully live for Him. Yeah, and it's such an amazing concept. Yeah,
I appreciate that, and that's been my prayer, that the book would actually help people understand what it means to live the life of a disciple. A lot of people can say that they're Christians, but I want to encourage people to move from just being a Christian into being a disciple, a follower, a loyal, committed, devoted disciple of Jesus Christ. And that's really what the book is about. It's about going beyond the step of having, committed my life to Christ or prayed the prayer. I really want to encourage people in that book to live your life dead to your sin and your selfishness and alive to Christ. And it was, just a great gift of generosity from the university and from the chancellor that so many of the students were able to get that book for free. We gave away, I believe, 5,000 copies of that book a few weeks ago at Campus Church.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely been amazing in my life. We're talking to Clayton King here on ninth period to get back into just kind of the relationship talk because, I mean, I'll personally say I had a buddy whose girlfriend broke up with him after the one you preached in 2007 on that night. Now, personally, I thank you for that because they're both better off after down the road. Here we are 4 years later. But, just we've been talking about something on the show, me and my co-host, Mark Riley. We've been talking about chivalry, giving guys tips about dates and what you do on your first date. So I'm just going to kind of give you a quick Q&A and give me your best answer possible. Tips for a first date. What's the number one thing you should a guy should know about the first date?
Well, you need to treat the girl with respect. And I don't know, I've never met a single female in my life that failed to respond to simple kindness and thoughtfulness. I think if I could teach guys one thing about the opposite sex, being women, That is, it doesn't take a lot of effort to be thoughtful and kind, but you get a lot of return for a small investment. So, if you're a guy and you're about to go out on a date with a girl, first date, you need to set the tone and let her know that you're not the kind of guy that expects to be served, but that you're thoughtful and you're kind and you're compassionate and you are interested in her, that you arrive early, that you pay for the meal, that you open the doors of the vehicle of the restaurant you're going into. If you're do a little homework, do a little research before you take the girl out. Find out either from her Facebook page or if she's got a Twitter account. Start to follow her, ask her friends, find out what she likes. Don't take her to a sushi restaurant if she hates fish. Don't take her to see a scary movie if she's into romantic comedies. There's some real simple things that a lot of guys overlook whenever they're trying to win a girl's heart. If you really want to win a girl's heart, do some research, pay attention, ask a lot of questions beforehand. Most girls like it on a first date or first couple of dates for the guy to kind of make the decisions on where they're going to go or what they're going to do, but the guy can make that decision after having become well-informed. And so if you're going to go out on a date with a girl, call her up or see her face-to-face, either in class or somewhere, and just ask her, so what are you into? What kind of food do you like? What kind of movies do you like? What do you enjoy? Do you enjoy the outdoors? Do you enjoy watching good movies? Do you enjoy concerts? Do you like going to plays? Do you like Broadway? Do you like musicals? Find out as much as you can about what she enjoys doing. And if you'll do a little bit of homework, you can make a real good first impression on a first date if you're a guy.
Guys, I hope you're taking notes because that word for word is everything you should do on your first date. I'll say this, we kind of touched, week to week about it. We kind of touched on whether or not, what's a good first date? Should you go to a movie? Should it be, should it be something where you can talk to her, get to know her better? Should you do your homework and make sure it shows that you did your homework? So fully agreement there. Now, as far as movies go, last week we talked about the quote-unquote chick flick. Now, first Let me ask, your wife, is she a big fan of chick flicks? Is she the type of person that can see a horror film, an action film, or is it, is she the type of girl that, let me rephrase that, type of woman that, you could take her to see anything?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my wife loves chick flicks. She loves romantic comedies. She also likes spy thrillers. She likes political thrillers. She likes courtroom dramas. And she loves shoot-'em-up, blow-'em-up movies. She loves sci-fi. Well, more fantasy than sci-fi.
Right.
She loves the Star Wars movies. She loves the Lord of the Rings trilogy. But what I have found out is that when we are going to plan on going to see a movie, I need to always defer to her. And so here's a little secret for the guys. The woman will always defer to the guy if he first defers to her. In other words, this is what we go through in my marriage. Honey, what would you like to go see tonight? Would you like to go see this movie or that movie? She'll say to me, well, what do you think? And I'll say, well, I've done I read about it on Fandango. I read a couple of movie reviews. Movie A got a horrible review. Movie B got a really good review. Then my wife will say, well, let's go see movie B. Is that what you want to go see? And so in a marriage, I've learned that the secret is always to defer to my wife, and she will almost always let me make the decision. But what she wants me to do is ask her what she thinks. She wants to be involved in the decision-making process. So what I've had to learn to do, even though I'm not into chick flicks, I don't naturally like them. I don't naturally enjoy them, but I enjoy being with my wife, and I enjoy doing things that she enjoys. So I have taught myself to not just, endure the pain of a chick flick. I've actually taught myself to put myself into that moment, to completely invest and buy in. And when it's over, we talk about the movie, we talk about the silly parts, and it's something that we do to connect with each other emotionally. And I actually enjoy them now.
Look at you. Now, do you have a specific chick flick that is your favorite?
The Princess Bride.
Princess Bride. Okay, we're in agreement that I love that movie. My quote-unquote chick flick, I go with more of a romantic comedy. Mine is Hitch. We talked about this last week. The whole concept of New York City always gets to me, like Home Sweet Home. But
yeah, pretty good movie, and you can't go wrong with Will Smith.
Exactly. I said Will Smith or Denzel or anybody with that much suave in him, that you're always gonna go right with that. Talking to Clayton King here on Ninth Period now. Moving on to a very touchy subject. You had mentioned you're a Cowboys fan. And me being from New York, now I'll say this. I'm a diehard Jets fan, so there's not that much of a rivalry. At the same time, my next team would be the New York Football Giants, and we are coming off Monday Night Football. Now, let me just say this now. Ask you this. Are you surprised that they're 1-5? As much as the country is. Are you that? How surprised are you?
There is no team in the NFL with more talent on their roster than the Dallas Cowboys.
Agreed.
Jerry Jones has bought the best talent that money can buy. One of the most talented teams, I think the most talented team they've had since Troy Aikman was quarterback and Emmitt Smith was running the ball. However, I really think in the department of coaching, I think there is some need for improvement. Wade Phillips is a super great guy. He comes from a legacy of a football family. His dad, O.A. Bum Phillips, coached the Oilers and Earl Campbell. But Wade Phillips just can't close the deal. And, he's pretty much going to be gone. He could win every game the rest of this season, and he may keep his job. But Jerry Jones is not going to have patience for a team with that much talent that's costing him that much money in that big new stadium where the Super Bowl will be played next year.
Well, it's actually
this season.
Well, yeah, the end of this season, and that's the thing. You're asking a lot for him to win every game the rest of the season. They still haven't played the Colts. They still haven't played the Eagles. They still, have to play the Giants again.
And I'm going to the Eagles game.
I'm
actually going to Dallas to watch them play the Eagles, and Romo and Vic will both be back from injured reserve. And so, even though I don't think the Cowboys have much of a shot of making the playoffs, I don't think any team in history that started 1-5 has ever made the playoffs. I don't think. And listen, the Giants have got a great team. They got a great quarterback. They've also got a great coach. He's the oldest coach in the NFL. I don't know if you knew that.
Tom Coughlin.
He's the oldest active coach in the NFL. Manning is he's not as good as his older brother, but he's an assassin. And the Giants defense, man. If you can't block those guys, you cannot beat the Giants.
Their pass rush is something to mess with. Yeah,
and they won fair
very
and square.
much so.
Yeah, I hated to see Romo go out with the injury. Both of my two favorite players in the NFL right now are both out with injuries. Romo's got the broken clavicle, which I had once, and then Favre has got the injured ankle. And those are my two favorite players in the NFL. So it's been a real downer for me this season so far.
So Brett Favre is your other favorite player?
He is my favorite player. I just like old men. I'm a lot closer to Brett Favre's age than I am Tony Romo's. So, anytime I can watch a 41-year-old guy throw a football, or last night I watched Shaquille O'Neal start his first game with the Celtics, and he's a year older than me, and I was so excited because I just like to see old men still getting it done.
Shout out to all the guys in professional sports that are in their high 30s, I guess, and still playing sports.
Yep,
Let me ask you. Let me ask you then. Now, I will say this: it's been a big topic, especially between me and Mark. Mark's a Packer fan. He's always been a Brett Favre fan as well. Me, on the other hand, now as a football player, I respect him. I know for a fact if I were 38 and taking that much heat. Oh, Favre's in his 40s, correct? He's like 40, 41.
He's 41, yeah.
He's 41. Yeah, if I were 41 and taking that many hits that many times, I'd be done like 5 years ago. That being said, the 1 year Brett Favre was with my Jets, he decided after they were 8-3, he didn't want to hand the ball off to Thomas Jones, the AFC's leading rusher, anymore. And the Jets went 1-4 the rest of the way. So I kind of have a little bit of hostility for him because I think he just was like, I don't want to play on this team. This isn't my style of offense. I like to throw the ball whenever I want to. They just ended up releasing him, which is what has him on the Vikings now. Let me ask you.
Yeah.
Now, as far as Brett Favre goes, do you think he's the best option for the Vikings at quarterback right now?
No, I don't.
So
I don't think he needs to start. I don't think he needs to start the next game. I think the backup quarterback Tavares needs to start because Brett Favre had an abysmal game. He had a horrible game. He threw some stupid passes, which that's his legacy. He will go down as the greatest quarterback in the history of the game. But he will also. But part of that is he will go down as the greatest quarterback because he took the biggest risk. He's a gunslinger.
Yep.
Now, when he's got healthy guys to throw to, it's a lot more predictable. But you could tell after he re-injured his ankle, he was not up to par. They're not going to win many more games with him injured. And I know this because I'm 37. I know that when I get injured now, I don't bounce back like I did when I was 27. Brett Favre will not be ready to play their next game. He won't. Now, here's the deal. Brett Favre will tell Brad Childress what he's going to do, and Brad Childress will have to let him do it because he's Brett stinking Favre. And that's what stinks for the Vikings.
Right. Now, two more things before we move on from football real quick. Let me ask you. Again, I'm a big-time Jets fan. Just before the season, I have them in the Super Bowl. Now, you'll like this also. I had the Jets and the Cowboys in the Super Bowl, and the Cowboys winning it, and we did the preseason pick show. Now, I still got my Jets there. Give me your thoughts. Do they have a shot? Is this just a good start? What do you think of the Jets?
They have a shot. They really, really do. But let me tell you who they're going to have trouble with. They're going to have trouble, and I know there are some haters out there, but you better bet that Tom Brady and the Patriots are going to be there at the end of the season.
No Randy Moss, though?
Those guys have played the big games before. They've finished the big games before. They've got a coach that knows how to win the big game. And in the AFC, it's going to be hard for the Jets, I think, to beat the Patriots. And listen, and you cannot. Everybody's talking about everybody else this season. I don't know if you realize this, but Peyton Manning has started the season, and he has smashed every record. He's ahead in every statistic. Peyton Manning is an assassin. I don't care what happens the rest of the season without a career-ending injury. You better bet that the Colts are going to be right there at the finish too.
I mean, obviously, I still see the Manning and Tom Brady. You always have to go through them if you want to be the kings of the AFC. There's also the Steelers as well. Now, let me get your pick. Now, I don't know what your picks were preseason. I don't know what you said before the season started, before the Cowboys were 1-5. Give me your Super Bowl prediction and who wins. Like, who comes out of the AFC, NFC, and who wins?
Okay. All right. Listen, NFC, I'm going to go out on a limb here, okay?
Okay.
I'm picking the Falcons.
Wow. That's not a bad pick because right now they're tied for the best record in the NFC.
Momentum. They got some good players that can make some big plays. I'm gonna pick the Falcons, and it's either going to be the Colts or the Steelers.
The Colts or the Steelers.
And I hope the Colts win because I think Peyton deserves another Super Bowl victory because I think he's the greatest quarterback alive right now, and could possibly surpass Brett Favre if he stays healthy. But man, the Steelers defense wins championships. They're going to be hard to beat.
Okay, I'm sticking with the Jets. After seeing Monday night's game, I kind of want to go Giants as well, but I'm not going to rule the Cowboys out. You never know with the NFC; it's so wide open. 9-7 could make the playoffs.
I mean, I'm still pulling for them. There's no doubt. I still want the Cowboys to go. They're my team, and I've been a loyal fan and will be when they were 1-15 and when they were, winning 3 Super Bowls in 5 years. So I hope they go, but chances of that are pretty slim.
All right, so the Falcons and either the Colts or the Steelers. Now, real quick, last thing before I let you go, little NBA talk because you referenced the game last night between the Celtics and the Heat. Just as far as LeBron James and his decision, did you agree with it?
Oh, I mean, listen. Do I agree with it? I don't think I agree or disagree. Did I like it? I didn't like the way he handled it.
Okay.
If I were LeBron James making that kind of money, wanting to win a championship, not being able to get it done at Cleveland, yes, I would have left Cleveland. And here's why. When you are as talented as LeBron James and you were with a team for the number of years he was with Cleveland and you can't get it done, there comes a time you got to shake things up. You age really fast when you're playing professional level sports, and he's at the peak of his physical prowess right now. He's good friends with Dwayne Wade and Bosh. Those guys get along. Their chemistry is horrible right now. I watched the game last night. Their chemistry to go a long way. They'll be in the thick of things, and I think when the end of the season is over, I don't think you're going to see Orlando in the Eastern Conference. I think you're going to see the Celtics or the Heat, and I think the Celtics are going to win. And I'll tell you why. I think the Celtics have got better talent. They've got Big Baby and Rondo, young guys that know how to get it done, that are clutch. And man, you've got 4 of the greatest veterans that have ever played NBA basketball. You got Shaquille O'Neal, who's good for 6. I mean, he'll come in and hack you until you're dead. You've got Kevin Garnett, the heart and soul of the team. And man, Ray Allen can shoot the lights out. If he's hot, he'll kill you. He'll assassinate you. So I'm playing my cards. I love the Celtics. They're my favorite team. They looked really good last night. Not to mention Paul Pierce. He's clutch. But I hate to say this. I just have a feeling that Kobe and the Lakers are going to win it this year.
As do I.
Kobe is, and he's just like Brett Favre. He's got an ego. He wants to win 6 championships just like Jordan. And he wants to win 3 of them without Shaq to prove that he didn't need Shaq to win all of his championships.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the big unknown. Kobe's getting older. Kobe's got a bad knee. Kobe's got a bad finger. But Kobe Bryant is the most clutch player right now in the NBA, and I think second only to Jordan in the history of the league, and maybe Larry Bird. But he's clutch, and he has a desire to win, unlike anybody else. He's more competitive than anybody else in the league right now. And if Paul Gasol stays healthy, it's going to be hard to beat the Lakers because they've been there before and they're hungry. That's my prediction. I think it's going to be the Celtics and the Lakers again this year in the NBA Finals.
Celtics and the Lakers again. Now, I'll agree with you because that's kind of my finals too. I think the Heat, the better they get, will end up becoming better than the Celtics. As far as just those big 3, put them together. If they figure out a way that they can play at their best and be on the court at the same time, I see a 7-game series.
They'll
and
be
then
a dynasty.
Exactly.
The Heat will be a dynasty. But this year is the final year that the Celtics can win it with the lineup they have. Those guys are too old. They've got one more good year of traction left on the treads of their tires. If they don't go this year and win it, then they'll start leaving. I mean, Ray Allen may not come back. Paul Pierce may not come back. Kevin Garnett's in his 16th year. Shaq's 38 years old. He'll be 39 years old next year. This is the last year for the Celtics to get it done. Oh,
look at you. Who knew that Clayton King knows this and much NBA? Well, again, thank you for coming on. This is an honor for me. I'll say this. You talked during Spiritual Emphasis Week about a month ago about fear, okay? 2 months ago now that I think about it, about fear. And one of the fears I've always had was, a fear of failure and just wondering if I was inadequate and always trying to prove something. And realizing that in God's eyes, I already am the best that I can be, and if I always just remember that God is always, thinking the highest of me and just not trying to live up to anyone's standards, but that, it's helped me so much. And I just want to thank you again for everything you've done as now a campus pastor and everything you did before you were even that.
Praise God. Well, man, all glory to Jesus. And this has been a lot of fun. I'm glad we got to talk.
Pleasure's all mine. Thanks again. 434-582-2909. That was Clayton King. We will be back with more Ninth Period right after this.